Okay, it looks like we're recording. Just want to go over MLA formatting a little bit. Make sure you understand kind of how it works and what I'm looking for when I say you need to cite things in your paper or put something on a works cited page. MLA formatting, it stands for Modern Language Association. Throughout your college career, you're going to use different types of formatting. If you take a psychology or a speech class, you might get into APA format. MLA formatting is generally what we use in the humanities. So your English classes will probably focus on MLA formatting. With any kind of formatting, you're trying to do two particular things. One, you want to credit sources when you use them. These days it's pretty easy to go out on the internet, find something, cut, paste it into your paper, and that's an excellent way to fail a class. You have to give people credit when you use their material, their work, their ideas. You can't just you can cut and paste, but you'll get in a little bit of trouble. The second main point between these formattings for research papers is that you must use sources fairly. I can't say, according to Joe Blow, yada, 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 then have Joe Blow come up to me and say, hey, I never said that. Where'd you get that from? It's like, well, I just kind of made it up. He'll sue me, right? I'm an English teacher. He'll get tens of dollars out of me and maybe one of my kids. But but as an English teacher, I'd get in a whole lot of trouble for doing something like that. I'm supposed to know better, and as students, you're supposed to know better. Everything I'm going to talk about is here on this MLA lecture. You got to read this for one of the journal entries. Probably the most boring thing you're ever going to read. But it's important. Again, you got to know how to do this to make it through college. Another handy dandy tool is this MLA library handout. It'll take you to the library page. Then you got to download the citation. It's in PDF. You can download this to your iPad or whatever you're using. If you start hearing the difference between the 7th and the 8th editions with MLA, they changed some of the guidelines over the summer. They call it the 8th edition now. So if you learned all this last year, they changed it on you. Sorry. It's still kind of the same basic format. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. You can read that on your own. But when you start looking at a book entry, if you'll let me highlight there. There's a book by one author, and the nice thing about this handout, it goes through different types of sources you might use in an essay. So if you've done 7th edition, 8th is going to look a little different, but you still start with the author's last name, comma, first name, the name of the book in italics, the publisher of the book, and the year of publication. We no longer put in the city of publication or the city of the publisher. Nobody really cared in the first place, but that piece of information is gone. And also, you don't have to put the word print at the end anymore. Because when you go to, say, for example, get a book off the web, you're going to indicate that information in a different format. I'm going to go through a few different types here in a few minutes. But I wanted to let you know that that handout's out there. It's a nice little handout. Done by Virginia Salmon over there in the library. I want to talk about MLA formatting by looking at a sample essay. Again, you're going to read this. Well, if I can get it downloaded. You're going to read this for a journal entry as well. For the next essay. I'll come up here in a second. There we go. You'll notice there's commentary on the sides to help you understand what's going on there. But with MLA formatting, you generally want to start your essay with a works cited page. You might have called this a bibliography page if you're as old as I am. It's just a listing of the sources you use in your essay. So like for the song analysis, you're going to use two sources, one for the lyrics, one for the biographical information. And both those sources, or maybe one source if you use just one website, but both those sources should be on the works cited page. When you see a works cited page, you should notice a few things. One is the last page in an essay. There we go. Get my header showing there. Shouldn't be a separate document. It should be the last page in your essay. It should be given. All the entries should be given in alphabetical order. No bullet points, no numbering, just alphabetical order. Everything's double spaced once. By the way, if you're watching this and you're seeing my face, you can minimize the part of the screen where my face is and enlarge the one that shows you what's on my computer. I mean, if you're just fascinated with my visage, then that's fine. But generally, students want to minimize my face and see what I'm doing on the computer. You can also speed up if I'm talking too slowly for you. You can pause it. One of the nice things about these integrity videos is you can kind of manipulate how you want to receive the information. Don't be afraid to play with the tools down at the bottom there. But anyway, again, it's alphabetical order. Everything's double spaced once. The only thing not double spaced on an MLA paper is charts and graphs, and we're probably not going to get into that in this class. Also notice that you have hanging indentation. When you're putting all the information for the entry, if you have to go down to the next line, it should be indented. And there's kind of a reason for that, which I'll point out here in a second. But if you look at it, it's just a listing of the sources used in the paper. The hard part is doing the formatting, which is what that library handout shows you how to do. Here with the David Carroll entry, you're looking at a book entry. Again, you start with the author's last name, comma, author's first name, then an initial if you have one. Book titles are italicized. Then you have the publisher, Harper & Row, and the publication date of 1993. That's it. Again, you don't have the city anymore. You don't have that word print anymore with the 8th edition. So if you're used to 7th edition, it's going to look a little strange. And again, if you use that, the idea is not to memorize every possible way to do a works cited entry. The idea is to know where to look it up. And again, your book's a good resource. The library handout's a good resource. If you're going to use citation generators on the web, make sure they're in 8th edition and doing the correct format. You can kind of see different types of entries here. Here's an entry, coping with the darkness, that didn't have an author. So you just go with the next thing, which is going to be the article title. Generally, smaller units like an article title is going to be in quote marks. The larger unit, like a magazine, is going to be in italics. Then you just give the information required after that. For a magazine entry, they want the date of publication and then the page numbers. Again, you got to notice little changes from 7th to 8th edition. Now we got to put PP for page, which we didn't have to with 7th edition. Don't let it throw you. Hopefully those handouts help you, and obviously you're going to ask questions from me when you get stuck on certain types of entries. This one's saying that it came off a database. Later on, when you use Questia in your essay, you'll be showing it comes off Questia. And for the new 8th edition, they want to see that URL there, the website, the whole thing. Since we're working on the internet, I want the full URL where I can click on it and go straight to that article. That's how I'm going to check your work. So if you don't give me the full website URL, then I'm going to growl a lot, I guess. But you'll see there's different types of entries. Here's one out of actually it's CD-ROM. We don't even use these anymore. But again, there's no author, so starting with the article title, telling you what reference book it came out of. Actually, I guess it's a book, isn't it? But that's the way works cited space works. But again, it's an alphabetical order, hanging indentation. To set hanging indents, you can in Word, you can click this little arrow on the paragraph menu. You can come to indentation here, click, get it on hanging, and it should be in double space anyway. And just hit OK, and it should do the hanging indentation for you. If you're on something like OpenOffice, it gets a little hairy. You might have to do a little bit with the tabbing and the hitting enter and to get it where you want. The reason you have that hanging indentation in alphabetical order is because when you go to cite things in your essay, you want to use the first word on your works cited page and a page number in the citation. So here, We got a paraphrase. We'll get into that with another video probably, quoting, summarizing, paraphrasing. But when you use something in your essay, you're going to use the first name on the works citus page and a page number if you have one. Internet pages generally will not have page numbers. So if I go to the works citus page, I ought to see Carol there. And there he is. If I go to page 35 in that book, I ought to find that information that she used. So if your works citus page is right, here's another one. That's a short quote. You can see the quote marks around it. That's what you're doing with the song analysis. Basically, you're quoting from the song. The word coping's there, so there better be a coping on the works citus page. There it is. So if I wanted to get into the OmniFile full text database and go find that article, probably not a page number there because it's going to be electronic. But I could go find that information if I wanted to. Actually, there's 4 different ways to use sources in a paper. Long quoting. If you see something blocked over twice like this, one indented one space beyond the paragraph indentation, that's going to be a long quote. It's going to be word for word, 4 or more lines. You can start seeing, hopefully starting to pick up on certain punctuation. Brackets show a change or an addition to a quote. So the ages of, she may have added that or changed something that didn't sound quite right. If you see ellipses, like you do here, that means she took something out of the quote. But otherwise, quotes should be word for word, right? Ellipses show an omission. Brackets show a change or an addition. Here you have a short quote. You can put the first word on your works citus page in the introduction to the quote if you want to, like she has here. So researchers Michael Castle, Dolores Thompson, and Matthew Nathan's report. She gives the quote, ends the quote, and then gives the page number. So there should be a Michael Castle on the works citus page. And there he is, along with the other 2. We'll get into summary and paraphrase with the next essay a little bit. Again, I don't want to have a 5-hour video here. But if you're really unfamiliar with MLA formatting, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and start doing the next journal entries for the MLA medical essay and kind of reading through that lecture and looking at the sample essay here. I need to pause for a second. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. So when you're looking at the song analysis, most of you have turned the draft in right now. I want to kind of look at a draft real quick. Our internet's been a little slow here at Northeast State. Look at Shannon's real quick here. Go and download that thing. Give it a second. There it comes. So when you're looking at the song analysis, particularly for the peer reviews, you might see a long quote like this. She needs to block that over one more time, but she's pretty close there. To block quotes off, if you highlight the whole thing and click this little arrow button, it'll move the whole thing over nice and easy. Make sure you have brackets around the ellipses. She's doing a good there, getting that punctuation in. She has her citation. I should go to the works citus page and see the top 40 music chart. Little problem there. It should be the first word on the works citus page. So to fix that, we'll just copy it and change it around here. And for article titles, you want those in quote marks. So it'll look like that. So pretty close there. When you see her quoting from the lyrics, we should be seeing line numbers, just like that. The slash shows breaks and from one line to the next. What we're doing is we're treating song lyrics as poetry, and that's how you work with poetry. Usually you'd have the page number in the citation, but for poetry you use the line number in the citation. You may not, if you don't, you may never have to worry about this again for the rest of your life unless you're going to take Comp 2 or a lit class. But that's how we're going to do it with poetry. So just slightly different from what you're going to read in the lecture, but not radically different. But again, she's introducing the quote. She gives a quote. She has a slash with line break. She has a probably missing since she has a line break, she's missing the number there. Probably that. But she's awfully close, and this is what makes if she's pretty close, it makes helping her out a whole lot easier. It's pretty obvious she's quoting from the lyrics. So if I go to the works cited page, there's the lyrics. She doesn't really need the citation. It's pretty obvious. You want to be careful there. If it's going to be confusing for the reader, you want to go ahead and give the citation. But she's in good shape there. She has it formatted properly. Looks good. With the internet, you're going to get some funky titles like that sometimes. That's not your problem. One of the weaknesses of APA and MLA is trying to deal with all these different internet sources. MLA is a little ahead of the game since they revised it in summer 2016. APA, when we get to that paper, you're going to find it's a little clunky when it comes to internet sources. But in the peer reviews, when I say, does she give citations? There they are. You have slash for line breaks. Are the quotes formatted properly? Long quotes 4 or more lines, short quotes 3 or fewer lines there. But hopefully it kind of helps to see the draft. If one other thing, I'd want the lyrics after the works cited page, but I don't think I ever said anything about it. But hopefully it kind of helps to see her essay a little bit. She's doing a good job there. But again, hopefully you got different ways to come at MLA formatting. You got this lecture. You got this lecture written out so that you can read it at your leisure. Some people prefer to hear lectures. Some people like to read for themselves. And of course, you're going to learn by doing it. And of course, you might mess up the first couple of times, but it takes practice. But again, you're not supposed to try and memorize how to do every entry. You're supposed to learn where you're going to look it up. Purdue OWL has a great site. The library has a great handout. Your book has a whole section on it. And there's also citation generators out there that, again, make sure they're in up to 8th edition there. If you see something like the word web in an online source, that's 7th edition. They're a little behind there. Also, if you have trouble with punctuation, that punctuation help sheet's up here on the help resources page. Again, not particularly exciting reading, but if you have in your peer review, if somebody says, hey, you're not using the required punctuation, here's a place to go to look it up. Or if on the self-regulated learner essay, if I mark punctuation error, here's a place to go to see what you might have done wrong. That's a library handout. I'm not sure where I'm trying to go here. There we go. That's about all I have. One reason we're kind of coming at MLA all these different ways is because we're probably not going to meet next Saturday, the 18th. I think we're scheduled to, but we'll already be into the essay by then, so it seems silly to meet. We'll talk about that a little bit more via email. Make sure we're all on the same page there. But if you have questions, let me know. If you need me to explain something that I didn't quite explain very well here, I'm happy to do another integrity video or clarify things via email. I'm here to help. And again, when you're home alone staring at your computer screen, it can be a little intimidating. If you have questions, ask them. That way I can help. That's what I'm here for. That's what you're paying your money for, right? So I'm going to hush up. We'll talk to you later. I can figure this out. It's right below my bifocal branch here. There we go.